Donald Trump is clearly in cognitive decline, but the mainstream media refuses to pay attention to the pudding brain that is actively melting in our president's head. And it might just be because they have such low expectations already for the stupidest man ever elected president, but he is desperate at this point, it seems like, for them to pay attention to just how bad he has lost it. In the latest example, one so undeniable it has sparked a health scandal, was a call that Donald Trump made that is really getting the media's attention finally. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into this latest Trump health scandal, I want to start with someone who's been calling out his decline from the beginning, and that is Lawrence O'Donnell, calling out the mainstream media right here.
If Donald Trump gets dementia, how will we know? Donald Trump's mental decline, which is more and more obvious, started from such a low level of mental processing power that it's hard to track his decline. It's from low to lower. And then there are days like today when Donald Trump asks himself out loud in public if he is allowed to appoint himself chair of the Federal Reserve. Now, it may be tiresome to hear, but we must not grow weary of making the point that no other president was ever capable of saying anything as stupid or as indicative of dementia as that. Am I allowed to appoint myself chair of the Federal Reserve? And we must not grow weary of reminding ourselves what the White House press corps would have done if Joe Biden ever said anything like that, and how big the headlines would be in the next day's print editions of the New York Times and the Washington Post and every newspaper in the country. Because if we grow weary of making the point of how singularly stupid and possibly clinically demented Donald Trump's statements are, then we will become part of the normalization process of those statements, which most of the American news media has unwittingly participated in. And 14-year-olds in this country will think it's perfectly normal for a president to say those things.
It is not a great place when you have to wonder if anyone would really know of Donald Trump's cognitive decline, not only because the baseline level of stupidity that we are starting at with Trump, but also because of the complete failure of the mainstream media to even offer up basic follow-up questions to what is wrong with him. But that has started to change a little bit as Donald Trump's signs of cognitive decline have gotten so undeniable that members of the media just have to ask. And when they asked Carolyn Levitt, the response triggered even more questions.
Let me take you back to something from last month. You guys announced the president was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency after his legs were seen swelling. How's he being treated for that? And while you were upfront about those health issues, curious if the White House would be willing to let us speak with his physician directly about those health issues. I know there were a lot of concerns about the last White House not making the physician available. Would the physician be available in this case?
I don't want to make that commitment on behalf of the physician, but it's certainly something we can look into and explore out of the effort of transparency, because unlike the previous White House, there is nothing to hide. You guys see this president working around the clock, literally 24/7, all of the time, and I will be happy to look into that request.
Can we at least get an update on how he's being treated for the swelling legs and for the hands and the other issues?
Look, you see the president every day. He's moving, he's working, he's continuing. There have been no adjustments made to his lifestyle.
Carolyn Levitt likes to call this White House the most transparent in history. And what they mean by that is they respond to the most questions, but they don't answer them. Simply regurgitating BS talking points, lying out your ass, is not an answer to a question. And when we ask about the health of the president and you give us a that's not very transparent. But Donald Trump himself is being very transparent about his cognitive decline by showing it off to everyone. And he just did so in a call into Fox that has everyone questioning how unhealthy and declining Trump is. Trump 79 sparks more health concerns with surprising new heaven declaration. Questions about Donald Trump's health spiked again after he said in an interview with Fox on the phone he wants to bring Ukraine and Russia to a peace deal driven by the hope that it will improve his chances of making it to heaven. Trump, 79, admitted on Fox on Tuesday that he feels he is at the bottom of the totem pole regarding his odds of making it to the promised land, leading many to ponder, why is the president suddenly so hell-bent on making it to the pearly gates? I just want to end it, Trump said of the Russia-Ukraine war. If I can save 7,000 people a week from getting killed, then that's pretty good. I want to get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing that I'm not doing well. I hear I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. If I can get to heaven, this will be one of the reasons. Trump has invoked religion more often in his second term, including him notably mentioning God repeatedly after announcing the U.S. bomb nuclear facilities in Iran. I want to just thank everyone, in particular God, he said in June. I just want to say, we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East, God bless Israel, and God bless America. A growing rumor for Trump's turn to the theological, or worry, depending on who you ask, is that the president's health may be slipping. The Lincoln Project, a super PAC founded by anti-Trump Republicans, reacted to the president's remarks about heaven on Tuesday by posting, his health can't be right if this is top of mind for him. Trump recently struggled to walk in a straight line just before greeting Vladimir Putin last week and was described as appearing incredibly tired after the summit, and then failed to recognize the Finnish president, who was seated right in front of him on the White House on Monday. The White House has not released any information about serious health concerns for Trump. It was announced in July that he suffers from chronic venous insufficiency, but the condition causes blood circulation issues and is not tied to cognitive decline. Donald Trump has been talking a lot about legacy lately, even more so than usual. Of course, this is a man who is so self-obsessed. He's posting pictures of himself on the $1,000 bill, a piece of legislation that Republicans want to introduce. He wants to be on Mount Rushmore. He wants a statue. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. But although I do think Trump will and wants to run for a third term, be president forever, be dictator for life, I do think he starts to see the end, especially as these midterms are going to be the biggest blue wave we've seen since 2018. Donald Trump knows it effectively ends his presidency. He's starting to really feel that worry setting in, that this is all coming crumbling down. And it's only about to get worse for Trump as Congress comes back into session and brings up that scandal that he was oh so terrified of, his buddy Jeffrey Epstein, which is exactly what Jasmine Crockett was talking about right here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, transparency is what the people are asking for. And anything that it seems like you are trying to filter out will only bring about more questions and concerns. I think right now the president knows that he really got himself into a pickle. This is something that he campaigned on, and ultimately is something that he didn't deliver on, which frankly, that is what Trump is known for doing. But for whatever reason, this has been one of those sticking points for his base, and he has tried to distract and destroy communities, as you're talking about D.C., in order to get people to focus on something other than the Epstein files. But the people are zoned in and wanting to know what is in them.
I mean, how is this process going to work? I guess I just feel like, so DOJ is going to give Comer some files, and Comer says that William Barr has already testified to the fact that he didn't see Donald Trump. He had no reason to believe Donald Trump committed a crime, which is like, okay. Who's going to do this? Is it committee staff, and is it going to be bipartisan staff? Like, are Democrats going to have any involvement, or this is just like James Comer gets to kind of choose as he likes to?
No, we absolutely should be demanding to be a part of this. Let's not forget that the Republicans wanted to send us home so that they could avoid any questions around even subpoenaing any documents, let alone the entirety of the Epstein files. And it was the representative out of Pennsylvania, Summer Lee, who is the ranking member for a subcommittee on oversight, who then initiated this process when they thought, you know what, we're in the clear. We recessed. And Summer said, not so fast. And so she was able to get the subpoena done in a bipartisan way. I will say that the chairman really did drag his feet and took his time in crafting that subpoena. But we finally did get the subpoena out, and we know that those documents are due to us. I am waiting on the list of excuses that the DOJ has for why they can't turn in the entirety of the file on time. I am waiting on it. I am anticipating it. But I think that right now, the Republicans are the ones that are struggling because, again, this was their campaign promise. Democrats were out there campaigning on things such as the economy and education and housing. And, well, we were trying to give the American people something that would better their lives. But seemingly the Republicans were zoned in on the Epstein files. And right now we know that the Republicans have torn the economy apart. So the one thing they need to do to hopefully hold on to some semblance of their base is to give them some assurances that they are finding out who was involved with Epstein.
I want to ask you about something happening in your home state of Texas. You were a state legislator in Texas before you came to Congress. We've all been following the story of the extremely rare, abnormal, pure, nakedly partisan attempt to redistrict mid-decade just to jack up the numbers for Republicans, to make it more difficult for the American people to essentially choose their own representatives instead of have the representatives choose their people. Democratic members of the state legislature have broken quorum to try to slow this down. There's one member now, Nicole Collier, who is essentially kind of locked inside the state capitol right now. There you see her sleeping because she wouldn't sign a permission slip that they made her. Have you been? What do you think about what's going on in your old place of work?
Yeah, again, we're living in a country of lawlessness. This is unconstitutional. This is someone who has not been accused of a crime whatsoever. In fact, just the opposite. I mean, there are definitely people that needed to be locked up in the state of Texas, starting with our attorney general, who had been under federal investigation for a number of years, who had been under felony indictment for a number of years, who was impeached by his own party. Yet he never saw any lockup come to him. And obviously, you know how I feel about the president and where he should be right now.
I feel like as Democrats, we so often want to connect as many things together as possible in our messaging. I don't feel like we have to do that here. I feel like we can let people figure out for themselves that all of these issues are interconnected. Jasmine Crockett does a perfect job just shooting straight on what we need to care about. This Epstein scandal is enough to care about on its own. You don't need to loop in some other betrayal. Donald Trump's attempts to steal the midterms, specifically disenfranchise black and brown people, in doing so, yeah, you don't need to add any extra anything on top of that. It's a scandal of its own. It's disgusting in and of itself. Let's just talk about it. Shoot straight. You don't need to read the stage directions. You don't need to alliterate and put together the 5-point plan. Just talk about things like you care. Just care. It's not that hard. Or it is, and if it is, we'll find someone else to fill your spot. It's really that simple. We're going to keep calling that out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.